Due to the spread of COVID-19 in our community, the Des Moines Zen Center is currently closed for in-person meditation. We continue to meet on Wednesdays and Sundays via Zoom. You can find information on meeting times and information about how to join us on the virtual practice page on our website. The address of our website is www.dmzencenter.org. The Des Moines Zen Center is affiliated with the Japanese Soto Zen school of Buddhism. Accordingly, when we practice meditation or hold services in person, we do our best to follow the forms and etiquette that are followed within the Soto Zen monasteries throughout the world. Obviously, our center is not a monastery, so we have to make modifications as needed. On Zoom, we have to make additional modifications. We have prepared this video for beginners to provide you with some information about seated meditation and some context about the things that you will see and hear during our Zoom meetings. When you first join one of our Zoom meetings, it will be most helpful to you to set your view to gallery view. One of the windows in your view will be labeled the Des Moines Zen Center. It will show an altar with a candle, an incense bowl, and flowers. This user is the meeting host and serves as the timekeeper during meditation and the chant leader during the morning service. You will probably hear people greeting each other and chatting as you first arrive. When we meet in person, we gather in a small waiting area outside of the meditation hall prior to the start of seated meditation. At that time, members of our community greet those who are visiting the Zen Center for the first time. Hopefully, as you join us on Zoom, someone will notice that a newcomer has arrived and will say hello. About 5 minutes before seated meditation begins, around 5:55 p.m. on Wednesdays or 7:55 a.m. on Sundays, a designated person called the Doan will strike a wooden board 3 times. This is the call to meditation. The wooden board is called the Han. On the Han, at the center, it says, "Life and death is the great matter." This is a shortened version of the passage that is written on the Han at Zen monasteries. The complete passage is, "Life and death is the great matter. Impermanence is swift. Awaken to this reality. Practice without delay." Once you hear the striking of the Han, the Doan will mute your Zoom window. Please keep your window on mute until one of our teachers announces that it is time for open discussion. If you join the Zoom meeting after the striking of the Han, please mute your own Zoom window. Once the Han has been struck, you should prepare for seated meditation. At the Zen Center, we have cushions available for you to use. There's a large rectangular cushion called the zabuton and a small round cushion called the zafu. You do not need to have both these cushions to join us on Zoom from home, but you may want to set up a comfortable pillow or cushion for seated meditation. On Zoom, you might see some of the other practitioners performing some bows as they prepare for seated meditation. These bows are traditional in Zen monasteries and are a way to show respect and appreciation for the Buddha, but also for his teachings and all of those who have practiced Buddhism through time, including ourselves. The bows are performed with the hands in the gassho position. In gassho, the hands are held palms together with your fingertips at about the height of your nose. You should hold the hands about 3 to 4 inches in front of your face. Another hand position used is called sashu. The hands should be held in this position whenever you are standing or walking in the meditation hall. In sashu, put the thumb of your left hand in the middle of the palm and make a fist around it. Cover the fist with your right hand. Keep your elbows away from your body, forming a straight line with both forearms. At the monastery or Zen Center, as you enter the meditation hall, you bow as you enter the hall, then quietly walk to your seat. During the Zoom meeting, you can bow to your home altar if you have one, or bow to the altar shown in the Des Moines Zen Center Zoom window. As you reach your seat, you should bow to the cushion as a way to greet the practitioner seated on either side of you. You should do this bow even if there is no one seated beside you. You then turn in a clockwise direction and bow to those in the room. During our virtual meetings, the others in the room are with you on Zoom, so this bow should be made toward the Zoom window. Once you have completed your bows, sit down on your cushion and then turn in a clockwise direction to face the wall. We face the wall because it does not provide any distractions during seated meditation. There are multiple seated postures that are recommended for meditation. Some of our practitioners will demonstrate these seated postures for you now. This posture is called the lotus posture. In this posture, you cross your right leg over your left leg and rest your right foot on your left thigh. Then cross your left leg over your right and rest your left foot on your right thigh. This posture is referred to as full lotus. You can also sit with only one of your legs crossed over the other, a posture referred to as half lotus. Another seated posture is the Burmese posture. To do this, you cross one of your legs in front of the other and rest both legs on the floor. This posture tends to be easier for beginners than the full lotus or half lotus postures. In all of these seated postures, you should try to position yourself on the front half of your cushion. Then, tilt your pelvis slightly forward and adjust your shoulders slightly backwards so that your back is in a very straight line from the floor to ceiling. You can also try a kneeling posture. This posture is called seiza. You should use a bench or a meditation cushion placed vertically to support your pelvis in this posture. Again, move your shoulders back slightly so that you are sitting in a very upright position. Finally, you may also sit in a chair. Sit so that both feet are placed flat on the floor and align your back and shoulders in the same way you would when seated or kneeling on the floor. In all positions, we place our hands in the cosmic mudra. To place your hands in this mudra, place your right hand on your right thigh, then place your left hand in your right palm with thumb tips lightly touching. This hand gesture symbolizes the oneness and completeness of the universe. Our practice is to keep our eyes open during meditation. This is simply to help you continue to remain in meditation rather than daydreaming or even falling asleep. We generally try to keep our gaze focused ahead and downwards toward the floor, a few feet in front of you. Keeping your gaze focused downwards keeps the eyes partially closed and helps prevent your eyes from drying out during the meditation period. It is also helpful to place your tongue on the roof of your mouth just behind your front teeth. This reduces the need to swallow. It is important to take your time when getting into any of the seated positions. You want to make sure that you're going to be as comfortable as possible and able to hold the posture for an extended period of time. It is sometimes helpful to rock your body right and left to help you settle into position. While you are getting seated, a stick of incense will be offered on the altar. On Zoom, the incense will be offered in the Moines Zen Center window. The incense is an offering of a pleasant and soothing scent. The offering is for the Buddha, the ancestors, the practitioners in our temple, and all beings in the universe. You do not need to have a home altar or offer incense at home to practice with us on Zoom. If you would like to, however, feel free to make an offering of your favorite incense before sitting down at home. At 6 p.m. on Wednesdays or at 8 a.m. on Sundays, the Doan will ring a bell 3 times to signal the start of the seated meditation period. The meditation period is 40 minutes long. While teachers frequently instruct students to remain completely still during meditation, it is sometimes very difficult to do, especially for beginners. If you need to shift your position slightly, that is perfectly okay. Simply reposition your body quietly and resume sitting. In Soto Zen, the type of meditation that we practice is called shikantaza, a word that can be translated as just or only sitting. We frequently refer to this practice as zazen, a term that just means seated meditation. There is no object in this type of meditation. The idea is just to allow the mind to rest in simple awareness of the present moment. The founder of the Soto Zen school, Dogen Zenji, refers to this state as non-thinking. There's no need to try to clear your mind. The function of your mind is to think, and it will continue to think regardless of your efforts. Instead of trying to clear your mind or stop thinking, Just allow thoughts to come and go without engaging with them or attaching to them. Remember, this is a time for your mind to simply rest and be aware. There's no need for you to do anything else. Just keep returning your attention to the posture and to the present moment. On Sundays, we will conduct a Zen service immediately following the meditation period. During the service, when practicing at the Des Moines Zen Center, practitioners together chant Buddhist teachings, writings, or poems. With Zoom, we'll have to make some modifications. To help you follow along, it will be useful to have your Zoom window in Gallery View during the service. Due to time delays when using Zoom, you should leave your Zoom interface set to mute. You should chant along with the doan. The doan will lead the chanting and will be the only voice you hear, along with their spouse. You should chant along with the doan. The doan also will use bells and other instruments to provide signals about what you should do to follow along during the service. About 10 minutes before the end of the meditation period, a person called the shoten will ring a bell 18 times. At a monastery, this bell is located outside of the building. At the Zen Center, the bell that you hear is located inside the building, but outside of the meditation hall. On Zoom, the bell is located inside the shoten's home. At the monastery, the bells are a signal of the time. At the Zen Center and on Zoom, the bells are a means of enhancing meditation and calling practitioners to prepare for the upcoming service. Following the 18 bells, we will chant the verse of the Kesa. This verse is located on page 2 in the online chant book. At the Zen Center, we all chant this verse together. Ordained practitioners place their robe or rakusu, which is a small version of the large robe worn by ordained monks, on their heads while chanting this verse.
Great robe of liberation, virtuous field far beyond form and emptiness, wearing the Tathagata's teaching, we vow to save all beings.
This verse is a metaphor for the Buddhist teaching being a robe of liberation. After the verse of the Kesa, everyone can stand. Those members of the community who are ordained will put on their robe or rakusu. The shoten will continue to sound a bell while the altar is being prepared for the service. Once the altar is prepared, the doshi, which is the priest officiating the service, will move toward the center bowing mat. This is signaled by the shoten performing a roll down on the bell. After the roll down, there are 3 individual hits on the bell. On the third hit, everyone bows with hands in gasho to the doshi. This is a way of everyone saying good morning. Another series of bells will sound to announce a second offering of incense at the altar. Once this has been offered, the doan will begin a roll down using a handbell called an inkin. The roll down is a signal that prostrations are coming up. The roll down will be followed by 3 strikes on the inkin. These signal the sangha to perform prostrations. To complete a prostration, place your hands in gasho, then bow deeply and place your knees on the ground, followed by your elbows and forehead. With your head and elbows on the ground, raise your hands, palms up, above the level of your head. This hand gesture is symbolic of lifting the Buddha. Once you have completed the prostration, return quickly to a standing position. After the first inkin strike, perform the first prostration. The second strike on the inkin will signal the next prostration. The third prostration will be signaled by a double strike, which indicates that it is the last one that needs to be performed right now. If you are unable to perform prostrations, just bow in Gasho when prostrations are signaled. The Doan will then signal the actions of the Doshi using the Kesu or meditation gong. After the first strike on the gong, the Doan will perform 2 strikes to the Inkin. This is a signal for the Sangha to be seated during chanting. The Doshi will then offer 3 more prostrations at the bowing mat. The Doan will announce a page number for the sutra and will follow this by chanting the name of the sutra. On Sundays, we will always begin by chanting the Mahaprajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra, also known as the Heart Sutra. After announcing the name of the sutra, the Doan and the Sangha together will chant the sutra. On Zoom, you should chant by yourself along with the Doan. The Doan will use the makugyo or fish drum to indicate the rhythm and timing of the chant.
When practicing deeply the prajna paramita, perceive that all 5 skandhas are empty and was saved from all suffering and distress. O Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. That which is form is emptiness. That which is emptiness, form. The same is true of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They do not appear nor disappear, are not tainted nor pure, do not increase nor decrease. Therefore in emptiness, no form, no feelings, no perceptions, no impulses, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of eyes, and so forth, until no realm of mind consciousness, no ignorance, and also no extinction of it, and so forth, until no old age and death, and also no extinction of them, no suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path, no cognition, also no attainment, with nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva depends on prajna paramita, and the mind is no hindrance. Without any hindrance, no fears exist, far apart from every perverted need. The Bodhisattva dwells in nirvana. In the 3 worlds, all Buddhas depend on prajna paramita, and attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore know the prajna paramita is the great transcendent mantra, is the great right mantra, is the utmost mantra, is the supreme mantra, which is able to relieve all suffering, and is true, not false. So proclaim the prajna paramita mantra, proclaim the mantra that says Gate, Gate, Para Gate, Parasamgate, Bodhisattva.
Following the sutra, the Doan will chant an echo, or short verse dedicating the chanting of the sutra. During the echo for the Prajna Paramita Sutra, you will hear a single Inkan strike that is a signal to place your hands in Gasho and bow all the way to the floor from a seated position.
Chanted the Prajna Paramita Sutra. All merits elicited in this recitation are dedicated to the great teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, the first master in China, Bodhidharma, the first first master in Japan, Eido, to the founder of our lineage, Jikai Dainen, to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, triple treasures in the 10 directions, and all arhats and bodhisattvas.
A second strike to the inkin is a signal for you to rise back to the seated position. The echo will be followed by chanting a short verse that is shown in the online chant book at the bottom of page 7. The hands should be in the gasho position for reciting this verse.
And to free the world from every tragedy of war, epidemic, natural disaster, and starvation. Oda's 10 directions, 3 worlds, all venerable ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom,
The dowan will begin a roll down at the end of this verse. The roll down is a signal for you to rise and prepare for prostrations. The dowan will then signal 3 prostrations as before. After the 3 prostrations, the dowan will strike the inkin slowly 4 times. The first strike is when the doshi bows to the altar. On the second strike, everyone should bow to the doshi with hands in the gasho position. On the third strike, everyone turns and bows toward the altar, still with the hands in the gasho position. Then everyone turns, faces in, puts their hands in the sashu position, and on the 4th strike, bows to one another. This is the end of the service. At this point, you can be seated. The dowan will then announce the page number for the verse for opening the sutra. Once the dowan begins chanting, simply join in.
And unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words.
One of the teachers in our community will then offer a short Dharma talk. After the Dharma talk, the dowan will again announce the page number for closing the sutra and the 4 vows. Again, you should feel free to chant along at home.
May the meritorious penetrate into in all places, so that we and every sentient being together can realize the Buddha way. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to attend to them. The dharmas are boundless. I vow to master them. The Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to attain it.
Sangha members are invited to offer questions or comments regarding the Dharma talk. If you would like to participate in the discussion, you can go ahead and unmute your Zoom window at that time. On Wednesdays, there is no service. Instead, the dowan simply will announce a page number near the end of the meditation period. Once the dowan has chanted the name of the sutra, we will read rather than chant this together. Just as you would do during service, you should leave your Zoom window on mute. Once the service or reading has finished, you can go ahead and leave your seat. To do this, First, kneel down before your cushion and tidy the space. Wipe away any dirt or hair that has fallen on the large cushion and place the small cushion in the center of the large cushion. Then stand, and just as when you sat down, make a bow to the cushion with hands in gasho, followed by a bow to the room with hands in sashu. You did it!
Parasambhate